Hello, Epic 7 newbies, this is Suspect Amy, and I'm here to do a quick video about the absolute disaster that was Awaken Potential, and why I think Smilegate should consider taking another crack at this. This is a pretty controversial opinion to have, so I'm hoping if I just show images of cute maid girls, everyone will calm down and won't want to flame me as much. Let's see if this works. As a recap, Awaken Potential was a system that was ready to go live in November 2023, and there was a big uproar about it, so much so that Smilegate completely scrapped this feature altogether. I was thinking of different ways to break down this video. I think I'll do it like this. First, I'll recap 4 issues in the game that Awaken Potential was trying to fix. What exactly is Awaken Potential and how it was trying to fix these issues? Then I'll cover what went wrong and close with some final thoughts. Issue number 1. This game has 300 heroes, and around 90% of them are weak and irrelevant in PvP. It's sad when a player's favorite heroes are just plain bad and there's not much you can do about it. You may not know this, but a hero's stats are actually predetermined. The devs can't simply release a new hero and give them a crazy amount of HP or whatever stats they want. Stats are preset, based on a unit's constellation and class. So if a new hero is an Ares Knight, they will have identical stats of every other Ares Knight in the game. Even the stats and effects gained from awakening the hero is preset and based on the constellation and class. Let's say you have a knight, like Crow for example. He's been in the game since forever, and at this stage he's pretty irrelevant for most content. There are several heroes that play his role, as defined by his skill kit, better than he does. The current solution is balance patching him and rework his skills to make him relevant again. This is not an easy thing to do, especially for hundreds of heroes suffering from irrelevance. But what if his kit is actually pretty good? What if the only issue is he just needs a bit more HP and a bit more defense to make his kit work? With this predefined stat system, giving one hero more stats isn't as straightforward as you think. More on this later. Issue number 2. Spirit Altar is the red-headed stepchild of the farming world. Even Hell level is kind of like beginner content. Almost no one does extensive rune farming whenever there's a Spirit Altar buff. Pretty much everyone saves their stamina for gear farming buffs instead. Increasing the value of Spirit Altar to be on par with Hunts and Rift would be interesting. Issue number 3. Rerun banners for heroes are pretty much ignored. They bring zero excitement to the game, everyone just shrugs at them, but it would be great if they drew a bit more interest. Issue number 4. Late game content is a little stale when it comes to permanent account progression. The main thing late game players do is try to farm better gear. As your account gets better, it becomes harder to improve your account with gear. It would be great if there was some other long-term goal that late game players can strive for that grants a permanent and meaningful account improvement. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's briefly talk about what Awaken Potential actually is. To sum it up, Awaken Potential is a very long and slow process of making a small group of non-Moonlight heroes more powerful. I repeat, this is specifically for RGB heroes only. Every 4 months, Smilegate plans to open Awaken Potential on 4 older, underpowered heroes. Awaken Potential consists of 6 levels, each granting the hero additional stats. So how do you level this? A new epic hell floor will be added to Spirit Altar that allows you to farm a currency called Erudite Light. With this currency, you can purchase a special stone once per month to unlock 1 level of Awaken Potential on 1 hero. Yeah, like I said, this is a very long and slow process. There's more. At Awaken Potential level 3, you don't only get a stat boost, you also get something called a Blossom effect. Activating the Blossom effect will sort of supercharge the existing imprint system on a hero. What is this imprint system? This is where extra copies of a hero can be consumed to increase the hero's stats. While normal imprint stats are kind of meh, supercharged imprint stats are actually quite good, even including some skill changes. Now you know what Awakening Potential is? Let's talk about how it solves the problems in the game. Issue number 1, old heroes are lame. This naturally results in a strict meta of around 20 heroes that everyone uses in PvP. In a game with 300 heroes, this is just embarrassing. Bringing old units back into relevance with Awaken Potential would possibly expand the meta over time. Honestly, If PvP ever turns into a solid list of 40+ heroes that you can bring into any kind of match, it would make it a lot more interesting. Awaken Potential is a very long and slow process of getting there. Issue number 2. Spirit Altar is lame. Adding an epic hell level to Spirit Altar will mean a much more difficult and fun boss to solve. If you give someone like Tristan Wolf 5 more bosses to make videos about, he'll be in heaven. Not to mention that 5 new boss mechanics will bring a bunch of unused heroes into the limelight. Similar to how Mascot Hazel was suddenly the queen of the last Rift boss. Players will actually care about farming Spirit Altar during rune buff events, maybe even as much as gear farming. Some people will say, "This is crap. The last thing we need is more stuff to farm. I'm already too busy farming gear." And that isn't quite what's happening here. You only have so much stamina you can use, right? So the amount of farming will be the same as before. You will just be directing less of it towards gear and more towards Spirit Altar. Issue number 3. Rerun banners are lame. Let me give you a scenario. My favorite 5-star in the whole game is Lilibet. I love everything about her. She is my waifu, and I would do anything for her. Let's say she was one of the heroes picked for Awaken Potential. They unlock her potential and rerun her banner at the same time. You bet your bum I would be super excited and drooling all over that banner trying to get imprints for her. Just the thought of using her in Arena and PvP and not getting laughed out of the room is a dream come true for me. I know, Smilegate is showing their greed here, but I'll cover this a bit more later. Issue number 4. Progressing your account late game is lame. Now, gear isn't the only game in town. Improving your account through Awaken Potential will be a new goal for late game players to strive for. Okay, let's talk about how Smilegate shot themselves in the foot. There are 2 major problems with this system. One is the greedy item I mentioned earlier. Having a portion of the stat increases be linked to imprints. This means you need to hit the gacha and try to pull duplicate copies of the hero. Unless you're the luckiest player in the world, this will inevitably end up costing you money. I actually didn't have a problem with this because if we're talking about an old hero and you've been playing the game for a while, it's likely you have a lot of imprints for them already. As part of Awaken Potential, they added the ability to obtain 1 imprint every month through various shops. Technically, if it takes you 6 months to max Awaken Potential on a hero, you should have them max imprinted in 5 months without having to do a single summon. Here's the second problem. Smilegate said 4 older, underused heroes will be granted Awaken Potential every 4 months. But they also announced that every new RGB hero will also come with Awaken Potential when they are released. This is a massive concern. For starters, they clearly said that this system was meant to be a way to fix the stats on underpowered, unused heroes. Newly launched heroes don't suffer from this problem at all, so their reasoning here didn't line up. Furthermore, as I mentioned, you're very likely to have a bunch of imprints on hand for older heroes, just from off-banner pulls over the months, but this is clearly not the case for new heroes. This puts pressure on competitive players to summon for duplicate copies, which wasn't really as much of a requirement in the past. You might be wondering, I thought you said you can only level up Potential Awaken once a month. How is anyone forced to max imprint immediately? Why can't you just do the free imprint thing over the next 6 months? This is true, but Smilegate also mentioned those Awaken leveling stones will be granted through web events and hero side stories. Remember, you only need Awaken Potential level 3 to activate the boosted imprints, so there's a very likely scenario where a new hero is released, their side story immediately levels Awaken Potential to 3, and then you're in a mad rush for imprints to stay competitive. Okay, so what ended up happening? Let's first talk about some stereotypical differences between the global player base and the Asian player base. Global tends to have, let's say, a nonchalant sense of loyalty to a gacha game. If a game developer does something the global community doesn't like, they'll just shrug, quit, and move on to a different game. Like seriously, if a company wants to ruin their own game, let them. The company will be taught a lesson in the long run as people stop playing and they reach end of service. Now, the Asian player base has a much fiercer sense of loyalty here. If a game company is doing something that will actively hurt their game, they will do whatever they can to make sure that gets fixed. They love their game and have zero interest in this idea of the developer being taught a lesson by the game reaching EOS. If they can prevent this from happening, they will. So the Asian player base bombarded Smilegate hard with bad reviews, critical comments, and pooled around $6,000 together to hire a protest truck. If you're not sure what a protest truck is, it's a truck you can hire with signage and a megaphone. It will drive around the block of the company's headquarters for a week, just blaring negative comments about the company all day. Smilegate saw the negative reaction, and let's be honest, there was probably some death threats and employee doxing sprinkled in. They were also told that the protest truck was scheduled. People were even posting routes it would take. So Smilegate announced a big change to the system. They said that Awaken Potential will only be implemented for older heroes. New heroes would not get this feature. At this stage, I think the system was just too tainted. The protest truck was already bought and paid for, and a portion of the player base wanted to teach Smilegate a lesson for even attempting something greedy like this in the first place, so it never happens again. Some said Awaken Potential still widened the gap between new and veteran players. Some said they don't trust Smilegate because they will just re-implement this on newly released heroes later, once they push the update through. Whatever the reason, the players continued their protest, and ultimately Smilegate made a second announcement that Awaken Potential was completely cancelled. Before you start to think that this was an overreaction by the Asian player base, I want you to know that over the years, their tactics have resulted in a bunch of greedy mechanics being removed from Epic 7, as well as some nice quality of life improvements. We have to thank them for the great game we have today, and we also have to thank Smilegate for being one of the few development companies that actually listens to its players. This is a long video, so let me close with some final thoughts. Let me rewind for a second. This right here. This is not a bad system. It tries to address a lot of those core issues that the game faces. I read a ton of Reddit comments that said, "This is so stupid, Smilegate can just buff old heroes directly without all of this crap." Let's talk about this a bit. I think the big issue is that what they want to do more than anything is give old heroes better stats. Because of the Constellation and class engine, you can't simply assign stats to a specific hero. You need an additive system, and Smilegate has a few ways to do this. Smilegate has done some base stat bumps across a constellation or a class, but this affects strong heroes as much as weak ones. The existing imprint system buffs stats, but it only buffs one stat. More stats can't be added here, or else it's no different than what upset people about Awaken Potential. You can add some stats through balance patching a passive ability, but not every hero has a passive. You can add stats through an exclusive equipment, but that only affects one stat. I also don't know about adding this many stats to an EE, that would be insane. Stats can be added through a quest-driven specialty change, but this currently only exists for 3-star heroes and requires new artwork to be created. There just currently isn't a way to give a 5-star hero a sizable chunk of stats. This doesn't change the fact that buffing an old hero directly doesn't really address many of the other issues that Awaken Potential was trying to solve. Anyways, personally, I wouldn't mind if Epic 7 took another look at Awaken Potential strictly for old heroes, but only if Lilibet is included in the first batch. That's all I have today. Thanks for watching my video. Bye everyone.